I would like to thank Jayce Lewis, frontman of Protofield, for coming today to really show the drum kit, to explain it to producers who maybe haven't seen one before, and how it influences how Jayce then sequences and programs drums. Awesome. Okay, Jayce, thank you very much.
You think that was cool?
Awesome, thank you very much, Jayce. I'll just let Jayce get a moment to catch his breath. Thank you very much. So, a lot of our customers haven't been in the presence of a live drum kit before. It's pretty impressive to see one played live. And it gives you a feel for, I suppose, the live sound, the bass, the volume, the presence of a live kit. Let's start by just talking a little bit about a drum kit and what makes it a kit. And let's start with the top, the brass.
Okay, so I've got all the cymbals panned right around to give that stereo image for attack. I got starting from the left, I got the China, which is 18-inch, and then we got 16 crash cymbal, 15 crash cymbal, and 18, and then I got another China. I mainly use the Chinas for really accenting, snare hits, really, making it powerful.
So what's the difference between these major the Chinas? The major cymbals, the Chinas?
The China is a lot brasher, it's just, it's almost like glass shattering.
Yeah.
And then with an 18, I use this as like an overrun tick over. It's almost like I use it almost like a hi-hat.
Okay.
Because my right hand is the one that's keeping time. So that just fills up the sound, when you're into choruses especially, you want that bigger cymbal to carry it out,
So when you're programming drums, do you take into account this layout when you're thinking about sequence drums in particular, using samples?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's so important to get to understand the scope and the dynamics and just the panning of everything, So when I am programming drums, kick is up the center, snare is up the center, and then I literally start hard left with my China, and I almost replicate this.
Yeah.
So this will be hard left, this will be sort of 22, 10 to, 10 past, 20 past.
It's really interesting because when I've been programming drums, I'd get one cymbal sound. And think, that's it, I've got my drum kit, but that you've got 5 cymbals here, so...
Yeah, I mean, it really changes the mood, like having... Not many drummers are using China's double side, I did that for a show kind of thing, just for a live performance, just to show like a dexterous sort of playing, because I can play left-hand, right-handed. So, but, when I rim shot the snare...
So, tell us about the lower drums then. What do we have?
Well, we got the 10-inch tom, we got the 12, we then got an 18 floor and a 16 floor.
Right. Could we just have a hit on each of those?
Yeah,
so hear what they sound like?
This is the 10. This is the 12. And then the 18. Floor tom, and then the 16. I always have my skins fairly flappy so that they give a real wet feel.
Okay.
And the attack on it is just projected, because I hit them with a bit of grunt. So, it just gives this really wet sort of feel,
Okay, and then we have the snare and how you play it and the different sounds it makes.
This is the 14-inch. It's a brass snare, chrome plated. Usually I use like a wooden snare, and I bring the skin right the way up, so you get the top end attack. Okay,
so tight skin gives you a higher.
Yeah, it gives you a real. Gives it a real, almost like a marching drum.
Yeah.
But the attack, especially with a wooden snare, the attack of hitting that hard, and then you get this real nice mid-range wood clunk.
Bang.
Yeah, I play like a rim shot.
Can you explain what a rim shot is?
Yeah, so majority of drummers, they just do a stick tip kind of playing, which is that. But then I do a rim shot, which is to get more of the stick material to really thwack, get like a thwack sort of sound.
So it's a flatter...
It's like a flat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we hear the difference between the tip and a...
So this is stick tip. This is rim shot.
Okay. I can tell the difference.
Yeah. And you imagine that with a China, it really does change the vibe. But but unfortunately that does ruin sticks.
Yes.
You know, doing
Yeah.
that. I'm
They
not
catch
sure.
the edge of the drum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're literally
Yeah.
almost trying to cut the thing in half. You
Okay.
know. I'm not sure if there are rim shot snares in as a sample.
We have samples of rim shots. Absolutely.
I know there's like
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
stick
Yeah.
that one, but
Yeah.
I don't know if there's that. But
Myself, I'm guilty of it when programming drums. You
Yeah.
have four drums and you're done.
yeah,
Kick, snare,
yeah, that's right.
a cymbal, and a hi-hat.
Hmm.
Okay, let's talk a little about the most important for dance music and EDM, and that's the kick.
The
now,
kick.
I noticed something strange going there. Though I heard two pedals.
Double pedal. Yeah.
Double pedals. Can you explain? Let's just hear the sound of the kick.
Yeah.
And
So this is single.
perhaps you can yeah.
Single kick. And then double kick.
So there's a pair of heads there.
Two beaters, yeah.
two
I
beaters.
do that for just to give speed and all that kind of thing. But yeah, you know, and and the beater heads on these you won't be able to see on the pedals, but the beater heads are plastic. They're hard plastic.
Yeah.
Usually they use cotton.
Okay.
You know, and again, it's just to have that attack. You know.
That's fantastic. So we've basically gone through the kit, except I remember we missed out the hi-hat. So
Yeah.
perhaps you could just give us some of the sounds that you can get out of a hi-hat.
Yeah, so this is a 14-inch hi-hat, Peisty. I always leave it slightly sizzled open.
Okay, so the two cymbals, obviously you can...
Yeah, they just vibrate in on each other. Usually the bottom hi-hat is quite thick to hold it tight. But I have it partially open, and that's what gives that sort of sound that you get in. So, you know, it's open and closed on the pedal here, and it's...
Yeah, everyone's seen the open and closed hi-hat snare samples.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, closed, it's like that. But yeah, it's, I mean, it's the most important. The fundamentals of this is kick, snare, and hat. And again, you know, panning of this is imperative.
Okay, so you mentioned panning. So you're a live drummer.
Yeah.
So tell us how that then influences the way you sequence your drums.
We've spoken about this. I've seen a few programmers that haven't had the privilege of being able to see a real drum kit, let alone see or hear it get played. So to my horror, they just had everything up the center.
That's me.
Yeah. So toms were up the center. Kick is old school is up the center anyway, and snare. But even the cymbals, so it was just almost like a mono kit.
Yeah.
But then when you see this, you actually see that you know there is a pretty big bit of coverage here.
So
you know.
when you're sitting in front of FL Studio, you're imagining a drum kit, and then you're placing your samples to match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly it, yeah. I mean, I'm always, you know, when I really want to, you know, like accent a real hard kick sound, you know, I'll hit the two cymbals at the same time.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're my 10-2 and 10 past panning that I go for.
Yeah.
I just try and replicate the entire look of the kit from the perspective of the drummer, which is another
Okay,
subject.
so when we listen to your music, it's going to be from the drummer's perspective.
Yes.
So you can also do it from the audience's perspective.
That's right, yeah.
Do you have a preference? Do you
drummers.
And you notice that when you listen to music?
Yeah. The hi-hat is on your right. Yeah. But my perspective is it's on my left.
Okay, so that's how we can tell whether
a producer is a drummer.
Or a producer.
A musician, producer, or just a producer. Yeah, it's quite an interesting debate that's been going on for a long time. But I think that, you know, it's what the drummer.
Yeah, it's interesting because pan is one of those things that's so often overlooked, and it's so easy to do on your mixer, and it opens up the sound stage. It lets you get more volume for cheating volume, really, because you've still only got two speakers. But if you spread the sounds out, you can get more instruments in there and keep the clarity. And again, I'm always forgetting to pan my instruments. So again, like you're saying, you're imagining the drum kit.
Yeah, and also, you know, like room sounds, which is something that I came into only.
So what's the room sound?
That is basically like if I was to record a kit, I'd put it in the center there, and I'd probably have microphones right in the corners of this room, just so it gets the back end.
So the
of
more,
that.
the wet reverb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, the wet reverb, you know, that back end flutter. But that, ironically, is the thing that really gives a production an enormous sound.
It fills out the drums. It gives them that thickness and length.
Yeah, it just gives the mass.
Yeah.
You know, it just gives it the real sound. Because I mean, you know, all these sounds are bouncing all around the place. You know, and that's what, you know, we're filling the room with it all. So it's good to get.
So today we got the room sound.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So anything else you'd like to explain about your production process? Yeah.
Velocities. That's another thing that's missed. Everybody's just flat out or whatever, you know. Like I did a snare roll. We call it flamming. And so, you know, on your velocities, you sort of just really mix up the different sort of hits of or each strike of that. And the same principle again with the toms. It just gives it a varied.
Give us an example of
that. So this is flat out, and then velocity. So, you know, I mean, you can do that programming. Obviously, you've got the velocities, and same on a tom. So, you know, that really does help.
Yeah, dynamics, absolutely.
Yeah, because I do a lot of tom work. I'm inspired by like a tribal. A lot of Brazilian music. Yeah. And so I just love using the toms.
Well, Jayce, this is your project, and I notice you've put a few samples on the playlist, and some of them, there's synths. Do you put your samples on the playlist, or do you sequence them through the piano roll, for example, through FPC or a sampler?
No, I mean, you know, obviously I got my piano roll samples, so another thing when I'm writing music, because I'm a drummer, that's the one thing that, you know, I was lucky enough for the label to go, it sounds pretty different to your average electronic kind of stuff, and that's because I'm almost mimicking, but with synths, almost mimicking what I'm doing on the drums.
Do we have any questions for Jayce from the audience? We do up the back. I'll just find my mic.
I am suffering a hangover if I sound.
I don't mind. We are also working on project She's a Drummer, and we want to do it live also, so it's difficult to see what we want to program, and what we want to record with real drums, what we want to record with samples, with electronic drum samples. How do you decide what sound you use? If you use real drum samples, for example, or if you really use like old school MPC drum sounds?
Thankfully, because of sound replacement and samples. So, you know, you'd have your generic recording. Producers go for, usually always, the SM57 microphones, just go on the top and the bottom to get the attack and the resonance. But then what they also do is when they've got the drummer and they've got all the mics set up, they'll get the drummer just to hit each, like a snare or a tom, and they put it right at the end of the session, and they will actually then double up the real-time playing of the drums and put that sample, that strike, that singular strike underneath, and that then obviously is doubling up the impact of the tom, and that's what they. And then of course, if you've got like library of toms and whatever different sounding toms, you can put that underneath, make sure that it's all in phase. Yeah, layer it up. Like a lot of my kicks on my album are like sometimes 6 to 7 kick drums that I've got, and you know another trick as well is they put that up the center. They put that right up the center, the kick drum, and then they have like a softer 808, and they pan that hard left and hard right, and that just gives you that sort of triangular, you know, stereo image of a kick. So it's giving you that back end flutter, you know, that.
Yeah. And how do you replicate that live? So now you have an awesome sound.
Yeah.
And then you just thick sound, and then you going on stage. How
Well,
you...
they do triggers. You know, you can trigger up, and then you can blend. It's almost the same thing. You know, if you add triggers, which is triggering off your sample, but then also miking up the kit. So that's also giving you, you know, the acoustic, the organic sound of a drum kit, and then the sample underneath then is giving you that massiveness. And you can just do the balance, and it's almost the same thing as when you're producing.
Actually, Jayce, could we just demonstrate the sound of an amplified versus...
Oh, you're on the kick drum?
Yeah, on the kick drum, just
Yeah.
so you can hear what because we're using a big pair of subwoofers here.
This is the mic off, yeah. So this is it off, and then this is it on.
Okay. I think I prefer two.
Yeah, I do as well. Also, you know, like the mic positioning's very important. And again, triggering just triggered on the back as well, so they had a sample. And that's the way that they're doing it now, you know. Another question?
Hi. Well, the thing is, when you say trigger, you mean recorded or?
Yeah, well, basically you've got a pad that triggers a sound. So the strike of your stick or your kick, your beater, is actually triggering off a sample.
So which instrument or sampler do you use with that? Like,
Roland have got, you know, they just clip on, and they got a little pad that goes against there, and then that will sort of, you know, instigate the sound to go with it. Years ago, they just used to just have samples, and it just sounded like a, you know, like a dance mix kind of thing. And only now have they really started blending in the organic acoustics and getting a mix. Obviously, it takes up a lot more room on a desk because you've got 2 tracks per kit. So, you know, it really does, you know, rack it up. But the sound, if you get it mixed in right, is, you know, it's fantastic. And that's what all the big bands are doing now.
wow, even rock, metal, all the genres, like.
Especially metal, absolutely rock. All they mic up is the overheads, all the top end stuff. Because the kick with the synths, and this is what I do live as well. You know, I just have the kick is a pre-recorded 6-sample in-phase kick drum, and it's just locked onto the synth changes and all that. And of course, then you send a click to the drummer, like what I've got on my mixer here, and it's almost non-human. It's that tight. But that's another trick that they do to get that huge thing, you know.
Thank you.
No problem.
Why do so many producers even choose for the SM57? That's something I've always been curious about.
Why do they use the 57? It's just the attack. Drums are notorious for just having that rumble. So the SM57 seems to not really pick that up as much. And it just gives you that mid-range attack, mid to top. And that's why, I mean, it's tried and tested. It's a cheap microphone and everybody uses it. So it's a great mic to use.
Well, thank you very much, Jayce. We really appreciated you explaining the drum kit to us.
No problem.
So please put your hands together for Jayce Lewis.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Scott.